Welcome to the Advanced Sports Analytics Show here on Rotogrinders, brought to you by Jock Market. Stop throwing your money away. It's time to check out Jock Market, the app where daily fantasy becomes a stock exchange. Buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money. Download now for a 100% deposit match up to $50 using the promo code GRINDERS. And get this, if you don't turn a profit this week, Jock Market is running back their first market guarantee to cover your losses in week 7. So download Jock Market in the app or Play stores, or check out Jock Market. You could spell that JOCKMKT.com and use the promo code GRINDERS for a 100% deposit match up to $50 on your first deposit. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender HT. If you want to follow me there on Twitter. Joined, as always, by the man behind the dials, the man behind the model, the man behind the numbers. At Advanced Sports Analytics, it's Stewart Gibson for a Week 7 that I must say is fairly. We're getting a fairly unique slate in comparison to others that we've had this season, and even last season. The fact that we have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 games that has one team that is over a 2-touchdown favorite. And then we also have like 3 other games that a team are around a 1-touchdown favorite. Do you have any insight on when we have games that are so heavily lopsided towards one team where the correlations, because we've seen that a lot of people, they'll build, quarterback, 2 pass catchers, a run back, or even just a quarterback and 2 pass catchers, where the correlations become stronger for the players on the favored team, but not necessarily for the team on the other side of the game, as well as pairing the quarterback and the running back together, because we saw last week with the Rams, Stafford plus Henderson plus Kupp was, one of the nuts ways of, getting a top GPP score. Should we be focusing a lot, either less on the run back correlations and more on these running back, I'm just taking the whole offense from a team when we have team totals that are 30 plus, but the other side of the game is very low implied total?
Yeah, don't have any hard numbers on that, but I mean, just anecdotally, like we can think back to that sequence last year where it seemed like the Jets were 2-touchdown dogs for towards the middle of the season for weeks on end, and just the correlative theory kind of suggested we want to bring back guys on the other end, and they kind of just continued to let down. We've seen it a bit this year with Houston. Houston's been kind of hot and cold. Like I think they have in some spots provided substantive correlative kind of bring back optionality, but certainly with Davis Mills in at quarterback, it's been less so the case. And then, even looking back to last week, Los Angeles, I think we both kind of touched on as projecting a strong tournament consideration. And, I guess Sterling Shepard kind of got there, but for the most part, it was looking pretty bad for Giants bringbacks for much of the game. So yeah, I just anecdotally, it does seem like with some of these big blowout spots, potentially some opportunities to just stack the side that you like and drop or leave off players on the bring back side. And then with regards to running back, I certainly think for me, just considering kind of the type of running back. So like, Henderson last week, I wouldn't consider him like a prototypical pass catching running back, but I think he is functional in the pass role and like the way that guys like Sona Michel, among others, like are not. So thinking about the type of running backs that we have. So like we do have Henderson and kind of Stafford stacks in a similar spot this week. Considering like Kyler and Chase Edmonds, I think of Edmonds as like a strong pass catching running back. Not so much that they're in a favored spot, but like we have seen Myles Gaskin put up big pass catching games, even McKissick and some of, you could go Heineke, McKissick, stuff like that. But then also seeing spots like Baltimore and their running back core, which is just, they don't really use running backs out of the backfield as pass catchers. Like that would be for me a spot where I'm not super open, and it's not like a huge spread game, but still, approaching a touchdown. But just given kind of the makeup and archetype of those running backs in Baltimore, probably not a spot where I'm open to, and also just given the style of play of Jackson, right? Like I think Stafford, statue quarterback, more or less, and Henderson, I think just make for stronger positive correlates, as where, you can make the case that like Lamar and Tyson Williams or whatever is strong negative correlate, just given Lamar's role, given Baltimore running backs role. And then I guess Arizona's kind of in between. Like Kyler is a run heavy quarterback, but also Chase Edmonds is a pass catcher. And I don't actually know that, like, just given the role of Chase Edmonds they've just been giving all the goal line work to Connor. Like Kyler Connor would figure to be the strong negative correlates. I'm not super concerned like about Edmonds and Kyler being super strong negative correlates. So that's kind of how I would approach things and think about whether to bring back someone, how you're considering running backs plus quarterbacks, stuff like that.
Well, let's first take a look at the top game on the slate. We don't have many games. I mean, number one, there's only 10 games on the slate. And we have a whole bunch of middling total games and then one high total game. And that high total game is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. The total is a 57.5. It is a touchdown clear of any other game on the slate. The Chiefs with a 31 implied team total, the Titans with a 26.5 implied team total. Chiefs favored by 4.5. I take a look at lineup HQ for this game. This is going to be the most popular game. Tyreek Hill, Darrell Williams, Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman, all double-digit ownership, all projecting well. And on the other side, you got Derrick Henry, you got A.J. Brown. You still got Julio Jones there. Maybe he'll be the lower owned out of the Titans. Obviously, a lot of these guys are expensive. Hill is 8,600. Kelsey's 7,600. Henry's obviously expensive at 9,200. With this being like, I mean, in comparison to other games on the slate, this has the highest total and the closest spread. So we're not talking necessarily about like the Rams versus the Lions, which we'll talk about the next, which they're 16-point favorite. You would have to expect that if you're going to run back anyone on the slate, it would be, we should expect Mahomes stacks to be popular. We should expect A.J. Brown to be a popular run back. Derrick Henry popularity is really being toned down by his price tag at 9,200. And we got like Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp. We got some high-priced wide receivers on the slate. And we also have running backs in like that 6K range that project very well. So Henry's ownership may be lower. It's not going to be low, but it'll be lower than it would normally be. What are your thoughts on stacking this game, and how concerned would you be about stacking this game with these prices and how it affects the rest of your lineup, being that you're more likely in a 3+1 type of situation to end up with very similar players because you're stuck in certain price ranges?
Yeah, I think it's like we had a similar spot, I think last week with the Dallas, or not last week, maybe 2 weeks ago with Dallas, New York, where it was just, at least per my estimation, kind of head and shoulders above and certainly per Vegas's estimation, head and shoulders above. This one I think is even further clear of the rest of the field. But with that game, like I was comfortable being very overweight on the game, particularly Dallas, because I just thought there was exceptional value. I think obviously the ceiling is there when you have guys like Mahomes and Henry and Hill and Kelsey, like obviously a huge ceiling. But of course they're very expensive. Henry, I just like, I don't play much Derrick Henry. Just I think kind of similar to how Brandon discussed on previous shows, ad nauseum. Like the price tag on Henry is just preventatively high, just given how DraftKings scoring works. Like the ceiling for a guy like Henry just isn't as high as the ceiling for a similarly priced wide receiver like Devontae Adams. There's just so much more value in receptions than rushing yards. Of course, Henry can rack up touchdowns, but I think the best receivers in the game can go toe to toe with Henry and touchdown equity. So like Henry's just a guy I won't be considering. So that leaves you with, I think the Kansas City passing side is appealing to me. I am looking at y'all's ownership and our ownership, and I think my exposure would likely come in slightly under what I'm seeing between kind of the aggregation of the two. But certainly not a game like I want to X out, even from a stacking standpoint. Like, I mean, we've seen Mahomes plus Kelsey, Mahomes plus Hill. At times, the two of, the double stack of kind of those power three just exceed any sort of price or value concerns. So definitely like a stack that I want some exposure to, but not, to me, there's just not enough value to consider going all in or just extremely overweight on. And also like the ownership, I think Mahomes is going to be quite popular. That stack is going to be quite popular. To me, the more appealing combination is probably just doing a secondary stack from this game. Like I really like Kelsey plus Brown is kind of the secondary correlation that I'm getting in a lot of lineups as I'm running them here on Friday. So that would be, I guess, the most common way I'll probably be getting exposure to this game. I think Mahomes KC side make for a fine stack. Probably will be at field strength, probably slightly under. But I do want exposure to this game. It's not like one that I'm kind of fully Xing out from a stack standpoint.
Okay, so I got two questions for you about this game. And obviously, we're going to spend time on this game, being that it's 7.5 points higher than any other game on the slate. Two things. One, let's say you play this from the Tannehill side. Tannehill plus Brown plus Jones, or you throw in Ferkser, you throw in the tight end, or maybe a single stat, you just do a skinny, Tannehill plus one of the receivers and then run it back with Hill or Kelsey or something like that. And second question, if this game fails, it doesn't mean that it comes, it still may hit 57 total, but it comes through different ways. Do you think the running backs are the ones that are the most negatively correlated to the stack failing?
Yeah, that I mean, that seems feasible. Like I think we kind of saw that last week with Kansas City. Darrell Williams, great game. Kansas City. I mean, wouldn't say they failed, but they
well, when I say failed, Stewart, I'm talking about like a GPP winning ceiling, right? So like they failed from that perspective.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, I would say like last week Kansas City, the passing side did fail. I think they put up good value, but probably not GPP ceiling, GPP winning value. As where I think Darrell Williams like had I didn't check to see what lineups won, but he had had production that I think could have been viable to win a tournament. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Are you thinking more from the Henry side or more from Williams KC?
More from the Williams KC side. More due to the fact that Williams ends up getting 2 rushing touchdowns, and those rushing touchdowns really kill the ceilings for the especially at the prices. From an $8,600 Hill and a $7,600 Kelsey and an $8K plus Mahomes, that like I could see playing Williams as a one-off in this game, but I also see it from the Henry side as well. If Henry has 180 yards and 3 touchdowns, like I think that kind of kills the passing side of this. I mean, it definitely kills the Tennessee passing side. So I view the running backs more as like uses leverage tools. But it's not like I'm avoiding, like you said before. I think I'm more likely to play this game as one-offs, as secondaries, than necessarily stacking, because I think that at Mahomes' price, there's a decent enough chance that another quarterback for much cheaper equals him, right? Yeah, Mahomes has a good but not great game, not ceiling game, 28 points. Well, maybe there's a quarterback 2,000 cheaper that puts up 31, right? 30, something like that I don't need Mahomes. Tyreek Hill puts up 32 points, but he's 8,600. Maybe I find a 7K receiver that puts up 28. And from a point per dollar perspective, that's fine. Kelsey's the toughest one because the tight end position, if you could beat everyone else at the tight end position by a significant amount, like that's a hefty advantage. So I think I'm more likely, especially with we have some tight ends on the slate that are gonna be played. I think I'd rank this as a priority in my lineups outside of the stack to be Kelsey 1, Williams 2, probably Henry 3 and Hill 4, but hey, if this stack, it's the 57.5 total, 7.5 to higher than any other game on the slate. If this game goes for 80 points and all the other games go under, you're going to need this game. So I probably still will have some Mahomes stacks, but I think I'm with you that I may have plenty of these players, but not necessarily as much of the stacks.
Yeah. I think some of these lower total games, not specific to this week, but in general, you can, I think it's fair and kind of comfortable to just say well, there's sometimes little value in being quote unquote underweight on a just bad game. So, it's if you're going to take 1% of something, might as well just take 0. But, I think just given the popularity of this game, the kind of expected ownership, there are ways to be underweight on the game, but not fully faded. And it's just such, clearly the best game environment. It's not a game I want to fade from a stacking standpoint. I'm in lockstep with you though, with regards to Kelsey. I mean, I think, you have some weeks where Kelsey is kind of stone chalk, but I do think there are some, tight end options that people are going to try to, I don't even want to say get cute with, because I'm not trying to say RSJ is a bad play. I think it's a very strong play from a value and projection standpoint, but it feels like this could be one of these weeks where, like you said, Kelsey more so than probably any other player on the slate, maybe aside from I guess Henry, has this elevated likelihood of just winning their position by such a wide margin, and because tight end's only one, there's just extreme value to getting the top tight end, and he'll be challenged this week by Waller and Andrews, I think, but there's just a lot of kind of top positional probability equity with Kelsey, and for that reason, want to consider stacking Mahomes, and even in non-Mahomes stacks, just going Kelsey plus a Titan of your choice. Could be Henry. I kind of like AJ Brown. I think there's just good value in as your route to exposure for this game.
So let's go to the next game on the docket, the second most popular game on the slate. It is the Lions at the Rams. It's a 50 total. The Rams are a 16-point favorite with a 33 implied team total, the highest on the slate. Lions 17 implied team total. Taking a look at lineup HQ, Kupp, Henderson, Swift, clear best projected plays. Also the stone chalk of the entire slate. We have Kupp at 18% ownership, which I think we're probably coming in a little bit low on. Henderson at 28, Swift at 24, and then it drops off a cliff with Woods, Hawkinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and so forth. Outside, I mean, this is obviously, for all three guys, probably more so Kupp and Henderson. Swift is, a much more volatile player. Can you just play? Are there going to be lineups with a lot of lineups with two of these guys with Stafford? Or taking a look at Stafford ownership, 9%, which is one of the higher quarterbacks. with how concentrated these offenses tend to be and the prices where they are, 6,600 for Henderson, 8,400 for Cup, 6,000 for Swift. I'm more, other than the Chiefs game, where once you start stacking these things together, it makes a lot of the other positions, you're locked out of a lot of things. Just playing like Stafford, Henderson, Cup, like you still have 6 slots open, right? Not playing Swift in that lineup, that's fine. Playing Hawkinson instead, playing St. Brown instead, or playing the leverage game, and instead of playing Cup, you play Woods, or you play Higbee, or you play Van Jefferson. Do you think that, because obviously the merits of the stack is A+, but I think Henderson's rejection is high, so high that you could still have leverage by playing Stafford stacks with a second pass catcher. So instead of just doing Stafford Cup, which is going to be chalky, I think once you add Woods, or once you add Van Jefferson, once you add Higbee, Deshaun Jackson, if you really want to take a flyer, that type of stack is when it succeeds, Henderson is underperforming, is ceiling. And then if you take Henderson, the likelihood of Cooper Cup, Henderson has 4 touchdowns, well, they're coming out of Cooper Cup. So while from a projection standpoint, playing Stafford, Henderson, Cup rates out the best, it's also the highest owned. Do you see that the other combinations of this stack, because all these other players in the game are single digit owned, are actually like, I almost prefer doing that than playing the Chiefs game weirdly, because there's no really weirdly when everyone is 10+% owned. But when there's 3 guys in this game that are going to be 20+% owned, to me, like I could kill so many lineups by just playing Woods over Cup, or just playing Hawkinson over Swift, or not playing Henderson in the lineup. I mean, I don't want to avoid this game. I don't want to avoid the Rams, but Stafford, Henderson, Cup, I think is going to be over-owned.
Yeah, I think my preference here is just take Henderson and get out of Dodge, and or I think also I'm open to like run backs of Swift or Hawkinson in there, but yeah, I mean, I think just the ownership's still going to be. I mean, obviously it's going to be high on these Rams guys, and Cup price kind of keeps coming up. Stafford price keeps coming up, and I don't know. I don't in general don't love playing quarterbacks as 2-score favorites. The Rams historically have skewed run heavy, although I think with Stafford in there, it's a slightly different makeup. But I think we just know the Lions are like this terrible run defense. I expect them to just get pounded by Henderson. And I think just at the price and ownership of Cup and Stafford, my preferred bet would just be to not bet on so much the game going under, but just bet on the Rams pass game, certainly relative to their price, just going underutilized. And I think Henderson's going to be popular. He's chalky running back. I think it's a spot where I'm okay eating the chalk and being off the pass catching chalk. But I get what you're saying. Like if you are going to stack Stafford, you have to. I think you have to have like a Woods or a Higbee or a Van Jefferson or something like that. Because just going Stafford, Cup, even D Hendo, I think is just, you're soaking up so much ownership between those 3 guys. So as it stands right now, I don't expect to do very much of this game from like a stacking standpoint, but I get what you're saying. Like if you are going to, definitely agree that you would want to have at least one of like Woods, Higbee, Jefferson, Jackson, something like that in there.
Okay, so those are the 2 games that have a 50 or plus total. Normally we'd have more to go over, but I want to talk about the 2 other games that have high implied total teams, and then after that we'll do our pluses and minuses. The second highest implied total on the slate is the Arizona Cardinals. That's a 47 total. The Cardinals are 17.5-point favorites over the Texans. 32.25 implied total for the Cardinals, 14.75 for the Texans. If I take a look at lineup HQ, no one really projects all that well. We have Murray at 4% ownership. We got Cooks at 11, Edmonds at 9. Everyone else in kind of the single digits. Hopkins at 4, Kirk at 2, AJ Green at 1. Is it weird for me to say that even though this game doesn't project well, a team that has a 32 implied total, the problem with this game is that these touchdowns could go to anyone. I mean, like that's the reason why the Arizona players don't project that well, is that for their prices, that distribution could go anywhere. And from a median value, AJ Green at 5,100 or Chris Kirk at 5,300, Rondell Moore at 4,400, DeAndre Hopkins at 7,700 are just overpriced for median. But from a ceiling perspective, if you tell me the Cardinals are going to put up 5+ touchdowns, why don't I want to play some of this game? Do I want to use Brandon Cooks at 6K as a run back? The Cardinals defense is going to be the highest owned defense on the slate. Do you think that, I'm not saying to play Davis Mills, so don't get me the leverage of that, but do you think that a way to bust a lot of that get leverage and bust lineups at the same time? I'm not even saying I'm going to do it because these projections are not that good. Playing something like Murray plus someone like as a single stack and then run it back with Brandon Cooks. Hopefully he gets a touchdown or something. It busts some of the Cardinals defense lineups and you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, because if the Cardinals are the top scoring team on the slate, like this ownership is in the single digits.
Yeah, it's a weird game. Like we have like a plus EV simulated score on Murray. So like to me, that's a good sign. Seems like a guy you'd want to target. But yeah, I mean, I just struggle with like the kind of the question you raised, like who do you stack with him? It's kind of tough. The like Hopkins hasn't really gotten a significant pricing discount. Edmonds hasn't, none of these guys have really gotten a significant pricing discount, and Moore and Green have even increased. I hadn't considered kind of the Arizona DST chalk buster of Cooks that checks out, and yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Man, I just like so yeah, we kind of have this like positive score on Murray as an individual, but the Arizona stacks or like team as a whole has slightly positive score.
But really that's the hang up with the Cardinals. It's not the team, it's the pricing of the players. Like you priced all these guys down 1,000. Now this looks so much more appealing. I mean, and the distribution of targets is just so volatile. But from an upside perspective versus ownership, I may take a shot on this.
Yeah. No, I don't think it sounds crazy. I guess it's just like Arizona, the pricing is tough. Like Kansas City has tough pricing, but it's condensed. We have pretty high confidence, aside from these kind of gadget plays to, third string tight ends and, fullbacks and whatnot, pretty condensed. And like, we kind of have high confidence in who, if a ceiling is achieved, it's going to come through. Arizona to me, like feels kind of like Tampa Bay of last year. And if, it's just, I have a hard time kind of like, kind of curious, like where is your lean as far as a stack pair with?
There's no lean. I don't know. I'll see how I can fit them in. That's the point. Like I'll have to run lineups and see how they work out. It's just that from an upside perspective, I can't ignore it.
Yeah. I think in principle, like it sounds compelling to me. I think there is a game and a side that has pretty similar properties to Arizona. I think I actually just alluded to Arizona as the them of this year. To me, there's just like a side that like
Well,
has,
let's talk about that game then. I was going to go right to it.
yeah.
Okay.
So like, I get kind of just roll into Tampa Bay. Like, to me, I think everything that you're saying that I think makes a lot of sense with Arizona, makes pretty similar sense, except for that Brady doesn't have the rushing upside of Murray. But like Tampa Bay is kind of more condensed now, and like with no Brown and Gronkowski, like actually seems like a pretty tight receiving core. I think the pricing is a little better, similar kind of spread blowout likelihood. But I also really like, I mean, similar like how Los Angeles, at least over kind of the medium to long like time window, skews slightly run heavy. I mean, Tampa Bay is just on a pass heavy clip this year that like, I mean, they're just blowing other, the Bills like historically have been a team that, Bills in Kansas City are really just like standing head and shoulders above the league. Like Tampa Bay, I mean, is blowing these two teams out in terms of pass rate over expectation. Like I'm not even concerned really that a 13-point Tampa Bay victory is going to mean that they're going to turn to Fournette and just, pound with Fournette. Like I think they're just going to keep passing with Brady. I don't know. To me, they're similar properties, but I have just more confidence in kind of who a ceiling outcome is going to come through. There's not the kind of Arizona DST chalk buster like equity that you allude to, but I think some of the other similarities and kind of value points persist for the Tampa Bay side.
Right, because Tampa Bay has a 30 implied team total. It's a 47 total game. They're a 13-point favorite. The Bears have a 17 implied team total. My question about the Bear is on the Bears side. Tampa Bay is notoriously, you can't run on them. Like they force you to pass the ball, and their passing defense isn't all that great. But on the Bears side, Nagy has been looking to basically hide Justin Fields, right? For the most part, like they've been running the ball a lot more, lower A dot passes, less risk. Now it's kind of like we got the two opposites here of like, if they're going to be a 13-point dog, that is almost going to have to pass. If they're going to be down, they're going to have to pass. Are you more inclined? Because we see here with the ownership, the ownership hasn't been updated with Brown being out. So we have, before Brown was out, we had Godwin at 11, Mike Evans at 4, Fournette at 21. I'm assuming that Evans is going to go up. Now, for their prices, this is not Godwin and Evans from 2 years ago that were 7K plus. Godwin's 5,900, Evans is 6,500. And you even got like Tyler Johnson in there if you want to throw him in. Fournette's only 6,400. But Allen Robinson's 5,100. Darnell Mooney's 4,600. Mooney's 8% owned currently. 4% for Allen Robinson. Cole Kmet at 12% at tight end as a punt 3K tight end. Would you be more inclined, even though the Bucks are that heavy of a favorite, that at these prices, like if Tampa Bay is going to force Fields essentially to the most likely outcome, pass 30 plus times, should I be running this? Should I be making Brady, Godwin, Evans, Mooney? Should I be more inclined to use, as opposed to the Texans, as opposed to the Lions? Like, do you think out of all the teams that the Bears are the ones with these two cheaper receivers to not mind like using Mooney or Robinson as like parts of the stack and not just say, no, Tampa just blows them out and who cares?
Yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this one. I like, just from a value standpoint, I think Cook stands out to me as like a pretty decent value. These Chicago guys, just from a projection per dollar standpoint, just really don't look great on paper or in the optimizer or whatever your lineup building medium of choice is. That to me doesn't feel great, and I haven't Fields hasn't done much to give someone trying to roster Chicago receivers much confidence. I think I would prefer to look kind of for some of these cheap guys and just take a mix of no Chicago bring back and just punt type guys. I mean, I guess at their prices, like there's really not that much that separates Mooney and Robinson. Kmet to me looks like a intriguing option is just kind of a pure punt standpoint. Should generate those some ownership. But I do think this is potentially a spot to not try to force in the bring back. And if you do it for cheap, essentially, because I think there's some real risk here where Chicago is, scoring 10 points, something like that. And, aside from one of these cheap guys catching a touchdown, like 10 points from Chicago just isn't really going to give you a high chance of a Chicago bring back being tournament winning viable. So my lean would be actually to consider no bringbacks in this game. Just, I don't know, given kind of the performance to date of the Chicago passing game.
Okay, let's get into some other games. But before we do that, I've mentioned Lineup HQ a bunch of times. If you don't know, now you know. There's a 5-day free trial for Rotogrinders Premium. So you'll get to use Lineup HQ. You get to use the Grinders Gridiron IQ projections. You'll get to use all the premium content, the premium shows, the Gridiron IQ, the research tools, everything that we have here at Rotogrinders for NFL for 5 days for free. So that'll include Sunday slate. That'll include Sunday showdown slate. That'll include Monday showdown slate. So if you go to the link in the description for the promo below, get 5 free days of Rotogrinders NFL Premium and try it out. And if you like it, stay with us. And if you don't, no harm, no foul. So let's go to our pluses and minuses, basically games that are obviously lower than 50 totals that we're higher on and games that we're lower on in comparison to ownership. So what is your first plus?
Yeah, so I got two, and we can lead kind of.
I think we end up having. I think we're going to have both have the same two.
Yeah, one I have pretty high confidence in, so we can kind of lead with that one because I know you've mentioned them before. I mean, with Tua back in Miami, to me that seems like a potentially compelling spot. I'm not sure, was that one of your two?
Yes, that's one. That's one of my two pluses. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, why don't we start there? I mean, to me, like, think Miami, expecting with Tua back, like, should be a little more functional offensively. Been interested in this stack really even when Brissett was playing. Just going something simple like Gesicki and Parker. Now with Tua in, I think maybe a good kind of buy low opportunity on this Miami offense going up against Atlanta, which is defense that I think we like to pick on. I think Calvin Ridley just comes in at a really compelling price, just a pretty straightforward, like obvious bring back option. So yeah, and just projects to be a competitive game. I know in the past you've kind of liked these spots of like a not competitive game in that both teams are playing good football against one another, but a game in that both teams are kind of playing equally poorly, and how that can create kind of positive scoring and fantasy environments. And I think that's looking like one of these games this week. Could obviously be a huge letdown, but at the ownership you're going to get from these games or from these sides, I think it looks like a good spot from kind of a upside relative to ownership and price.
Right. When two bad teams play each other, it's just a high variance spot. They're either bad and it goes 13-10, or they're bad and it goes 44-38 because they can't stop anyone. Ridley is going to be very chalky on DraftKings at 6,600 because they've lowered his price and he was out for a personal reason the last game. Now he's back. He shouldn't be 6,600. Parker is questionable, but if he's back, like Waddle's been priced up to 5,600. So Waddle had a great game in London the last time, but obviously with Parker back is going to kind of knock some of the luster off. I think I'm less likely to play Ridley as a one-off. Now, obviously, if he fits into certain lineups, he will. Just that I think you can mitigate the Ridley ownership by playing the Dolphins. I think that's what makes this game more appealing to me, is that instead of people will be playing Ridley one-offs. well, how do I differentiate my Ridley one-off lineups? Well, by correlating the other side of the game, by playing Ryan and playing a Ryan Ridley Pitts type of stack. Russell Gage is back also. So maybe you throw him in. You play a Ryan side, or you play a Tua side. You go Tua, Gesicki, Parker, Ridley. And if Ridley Chalk gets there, well, it's probably because the Dolphins are also getting there also. And the Dolphins are, Gesicki 10%, Parker 8%, Waddle 6%, Gaskin 4%. I mean, they're low owned enough. So like I like the appeal of this game because two bad teams means it's high variance. And it's a way for me to get Ridley into my lineups without it just being Ridley. So, I mean, to me, those are the two factors of this game. What's the other plus? I'm assuming we're both on the. I hope we're on the same team here.
Yeah, it's not like a sneaky or kind of just vomits that game, but I mean, I think Lamar Jackson's going to come in a bit underowned, and kind of the Baltimore, receiving game is just going to come in a bit underowned. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Mahomes is great, Stafford and LA great, but I think just the upside that we know Lamar has, condensed pass catchers. I do think that kind of passing attack is going to come in underowned. You got a good bit of optionality. I mean, Lamar's typically a guy that, I would say the preference is to single stack him, but like now all of a sudden kind of got weapons. I mean, Brown's looking good. Andrews is looking solid. Bateman's back, I think is just at a really good price point. Like, it does feel like a game that you can double stack Lamar. And then, of course, Cincinnati's got receiving weapons to boot. Picking the right ones, I think, can be a challenge. But something like Jackson, Andrews, Brown, Higgins, or Chase, or Bateman, Brown, Higgins, or Chase, something like that, I think to me makes a lot of sense, and just looks like a pretty cozy kind of double stack with a bring back that, I don't know, people are gonna overlook and kind of over index on like Mahomes or Stafford. So that would be the other one I'm kind of looking at.
I disagree with you. This is my biggest minus.
Really? Okay.
Like this would be my biggest minus, not just a minus, but the big. I think you're underestimating the ownership here. We have Bateman at 16% owned, Higgins at 16, Brown at 10, Andrews at 10, Boyd at 8. Like, this game is going to be owned. This is not an under the radar type of game. As a value play, Bateman may be in cash lineups even. So it's very easy once you play Bateman to play these Lamar double stacks and then run it back with one of Higgins, Chase, Boyd. I mean, like, it's too easy to make, and that's why it's being made. But I think from the range of outcomes, ability to disappoint. I mean, we saw it with Jackson in the Ravens the last game, where all three running backs have touchdowns. Cincinnati is not a pass heavy team anymore. So like, this game could be one of the slowest games on the entire slate. And I think people are over indexing on that one Lamar Jackson game where he had to come back from 2 touchdowns and they threw a bunch. And I think these two teams would prefer to run the ball. And I think that caps the upside. Yeah, I would have no problem with this game if all these guys were single digit owned, but not at this ownership. So I think the perspective that you have may be based on thinking that it's going under the radar. I think this is going to be like the third or fourth most popular game on the entire slate. And the plus that I'm thinking, I thought you were going to mention my plus. I thought we were going to be in agreement to this. There's one team that I rate higher than any other team on this entire slate for their ownership. There's one team on this slate that I'm going to play. If I'm playing 100 lineups, they'll be in 20%. They'll be in 20% of my 100, and in my single entry stuff, I may play like 8 lineups. This team may be in 3. Like the stack may be in 3 of them.
I feel fairly confident if I had one more guess that I could get it, and I feel almost certain with 2 more guesses I could get it.
Okay, so you have one of 2. Okay. Okay. What's your best guess, and then what's your second best guess?
My first guess would be Washington. Second guess, New England.
Oh, you got neither of them.
Oh, man.
You
All right.
got neither.
All right.
Why?
Well,
Why
no.
Washington? They're
Um,
a 7.5-point dog against the Packers in Green Bay. Well,
yeah,
just
I
because
mean,
of their price, just because Heineke, McLaurin,
yeah, I think
Seals
Price,
Jones, Adams type of thing.
Price, game environment down 7, expect them to skew pass heavy. I think even McKissic is in play as like a Heineke stack option. So I think there are ways to get pretty cheap and kind of reception oriented value out of guys like McKissic or Seals Jones. No, I'm interested to hear. I like I said, I thought a near guarantee that I would be able to get it with 2 guesses, but one, yeah. No, I'm interested to hear.
It's a game that has the third highest total on the slate at 48.5. Okay. It has a 3-point spread. Okay. It has a quarterback on one side that is most likely going to be the highest owned quarterback, probably your cash game quarterback, and that's Jalen Hurts. But I think people don't realize how pass heavy the Las Vegas Raiders actually are. And the Eagles defense is not good. Is not good. Gruden's not there anymore also. So we may not see, 25 rushes into them, Peyton Barber running the ball in. Jacobs is catching more passes out of the backfield. I have no problem playing Derek Carr on this. I mean, like the Derek Carr and Darren Waller. Who is playing Darren Waller at 6,700 on a slate with Kelsey and a bunch of cheaper options? We have him at 3% owned. Carr plus Waller plus Ruggs plus Renfro plus Edwards. I got choices. I can run it back with Miles Sanders on the other side at 5,100. I can run it back with Devonta Smith, who will be owned. The Philly side is going to be the more owned side of this game. I don't like this game as a stack from the Eagles side. From a projection standpoint, I do. Hurts plus Goddard plus Smith will be like the second highest owned stack on the slate. I'm a minus on them because I think they're over-owned. Okay. Not because they're not good. I just think they're going to be over-owned. But while the Eagles will be over-owned, who's playing Derek Carr? Who's playing Waller? No one. If the Raiders went out, and the Raiders have an implied team total of 25.75 at home as a 3-point favorite, and where no one likes playing Derek Carr, but from an air yards perspective this year, I think he's second in the NFL in air yards. I think Josh Allen is 1. I think he's over Mahomes, maybe even. He's up there. I may not know the exact number, but he's in the top 3 or something in air yards, and no one seems to realize this. His passing props are always you look at it and you go, 286 for Derek Carr, and then he gets there. So I thought we would be in agreement on that. I thought you'd point this out as at least. I thought if not the top guess, your second guess. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe you're looking at something, and maybe I'm the nuts one for
No,
why aren't I playing Carr double stacks?
No, I mean, we don't have bad bottom of the barrel scores on really either of these sides. I think it just from our kind of process, they're coming in as kind of middling in terms of value relative to ownership, ceiling incorporation, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't strike me as a bad spot. And I do think I'm certainly not intimidated by kind of the any sort of Las Vegas or Raider I don't know, bad juju or FUD or whatever. I do think, in other weeks, Las Vegas is a team that I tend to like to play. Could just be coming from us seeing Kelsey as a superior tight end option. And a lot of the value for the Las Vegas side is probably going to come through Waller and your assumption that Waller will outperform and probably be tight end 1. So that could kind of, I don't know, I spend a lot of time looking at the numbers and not as much time trying to justify why the numbers are coming in the way that they are. But as I kind of think through it here now, to me, that would probably be the pain point as to where Their, simulated score probably isn't quite as strong. Like if you didn't have Kelsey on the slate, or, had a large proportion of simulations that ran out with Kelsey being beat out by Waller, or just underperforming in a big way, I think makes sense. Like that kind of that game and that stack becomes kind of increasingly valuable. So,
and I think the variance of this game goes up with Hurts at quarterback. I mean, we've seen this season, Hurts is making a lot of mistakes, and he ends up getting there. From a fantasy perspective, he's great because he ends up getting there anyway, right? He's rushing the ball, he ends a red zone carries, and but from the opposite side of perspective, I mean, who says Hurts doesn't throw 3 interceptions and give the Raiders short fields all the time? I mean, I just see the volatility in this game being high, and everyone gravitating to one side of the game, but not the other side of the game. I think Josh Jacobs, we have him at 16% currently. I don't think he'll be as high as 16%. I just think there's a lot of value in a game where people are playing one side but not the other, to just play the side that people aren't playing in a game that's close and has the third highest total on the slate. Like I view this as better than playing the Titans. I view this as better than overpriced Cardinals, you're not knowing what to select. Just, it seems like the easiest path to first place comes through this, rather than how do I play Stafford and not play Cup? How do I play you're trying to get how do I play Brady without playing Godwin and Evans? I don't know how you do that, but here it's just a clear path of the Raiders put up 5 touchdowns. That's other teams could put up 5 touchdowns also, but I'm getting this at lower ownership and less price, and I could still have pieces of that. It seems like in this game for the Raiders, what I like and dislike about the Raiders, Stewart, is that there's really no one that's like a one-off. Like Waller, I guess. But if Carr has a 30-plus point game, he's going to drag 2 receivers with him. He's going to drag 2 of them with him regardless. So I don't like playing the guys as one-offs. So to me, it makes it, but that's the reason why other people don't. It's easy to play Calvin Ridley as a one-off. It's easy to play Cooper Kupp as a one-off, right? It's the chalk stacks. I'm going to play Tyreek Hill as a one-off, or Kelsey. Okay. I'm going to play Godwin or Evans as a one-off. Okay. I don't have to play a Brady stack. But it seems like if any of these receivers, any of these pass catching options put up a 30-point game, I think Carr is QB. I think Carr competes for QB1, because I think that's the only way that happens. So if I'm going to play Raiders, why aren't I playing Carr in the lineup? Because Hunter Renfro's 16 points ain't winning me a GPP. Waller's 12 or something, or Ruggs is 16. But if Ruggs goes for 36, Derek Carr has a 303, 304 type of game, and it's 6,000 versus Mahomes at 8,400. Derek Carr is going to be in the Millie winning line.
Yeah. So, we kind of led off the show talking about running back QB pairs. And I know you've mentioned Josh Jacobs. Do you see Carr plus Jacobs as it's not really the game environment you were talking about at the top, right? It's blowout type game. But I assume that you're not really seeing Jacobs plus Carr as a option.
It's doable.
Right?
It's doable. It's not probably optimal.
Yeah.
But it's doable. Only because I think for Carr to get 300 yards, maybe it's a dump offs to Jacobs. I add a Carr for 6,000, for a GPP winning ceiling, I need 303. And yes, I could see a case where he could get 303 and Jacobs has 2 touchdowns on the ground. I can see that, but I think Jacobs rushing is heavily negatively correlated to Carr's ceiling, that I'd be less likely to do so, but it wouldn't be something that I'm specifically ruling out.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And then, Ruggs to me kind of looks like the preferred, obviously Waller, of course, but then like you said, it does seem like a spot you definitely want to double stack. I don't know, Renfro seems like kind of a better value, higher floor, but the kind of slot low ADOT, pretty much no big play ability. you know, I don't know. It seems like Ruggs will get, I mean, sorry, Renfro will get like some amount of ownership, and just given his, what I would consider somewhat limited ceiling, like Ruggs would probably be the preferred spot. Is that how you're seeing it, or
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, I don't,
mix of both? Yeah.
right. To me,
Yeah.
it's the key is this Carr plus 2 pass catchers. So I could still do Renfro Waller. I could still do, I could still throw Edwards and some, it just, however it works out. The key part of this is playing the Raiders as a stack. So isn't that what I was explaining before of like the receivers, the pass catching options as one-offs, like it's hard for me to like get to them. Like just as it feels like if one of them has a good enough game to be in a GPP winning lineup, that Carr is at the head of that lineup. So I'm like, am I going to make rules so that I don't play any Raiders as one-offs? No, but I'd be more inclined to play Raiders more in lineups with Carr, and then like I'd be more inclined like that. Not see Waller's an interesting case. See Waller, I don't mind as a one-off as much, only because he's at a scarce tight end position. So if Waller has a 36-point game, that means that Carr probably had a good game, but maybe not a QB1 game. But 36 for Waller is probably a TE1 game. So if Kelsey only has 18 and Waller is the next highest at 36, you're going to want him as a one-off. So it's like, it's more of the fact of the Renfro, the Edwards, the Rugg, more of those wide receiver types. And because even Jacobs, I don't mind, because the running back is, in that 6K range. I don't mind playing as a one-off. It's more of the receivers where I can't see any of these receivers like having like a 30+ point game without Carr sitting there with like 30 points.
Yeah. Yeah, no, makes sense. I think, subjectively checks out. Yeah. And I got nothing else really on top of that. Like those are
right. But you'll have some of the stuff in the Substack that you're sending out, right?
Yep. Yeah, we'll probably do Substack tomorrow morning. I've been very behind this week. I had jury duty this week. Have you ever had to do that before?
Yeah, I've done it before. Did you get? Obviously, you didn't get chosen.
No, I didn't get chosen.
Or maybe you're under sequester. Maybe you're being sequestered.
No comment. No, I didn't get chosen, but just sat around in the Brooklyn courthouse for 2 days, 95% of the time just sitting, working on my computer, looking at my phone. So I don't know. Not like I just lost 2 days, but definitely more comfortable to do that like at home, instead of like a stale like.
Did you even get called? Did you get to voir dire or anything, or just like nope?
No, they just they just called me and shuffled me around to various different rooms, and then told me to go back to rooms that I started in, and wait that I might get called to a next room, and then at the end of the 2 days, I just left in the original room that I started at, and they were like, all right, well, anyone else who's here, just go home. And I was like, all right, well, sweet. What a great, I don't know, how can we not like get phone numbers where they can just like text you, like, you will be needed in roughly an hour, like come, or 2 hours or whatever they think is.
Have you seen the technology behind like most of the government? I mean,
oh yeah, I mean, I know it's not like a, how can we not have the technology? It's more just like, how is it that we have come to expect such little efficiency out of, this is a
that goes on to a different type of podcast. You go to a different category on iTunes to get any of those type of opinions. So Stewart, you're at Stewart Gibson as well
correct.
as AS Analytics DFS. And you can check out everything there at advancedsportsanalytics.com. Sign up for the Substack, and I'm at Blender HD and doing all the Rotogrinder stuff on the pregame show and the showdown shows. So until next week, that has been another edition of the Advanced Sports Analytics Show here on Rotogrinders.com.